Hello everyone, so this is a Renee Responds video, and it is in answer to bookrat Misty's excellent discussion topic of negative reviews, and I'm going to link her video in the doobly-doo in my pants. There will also, I'll try and link some other folks, booktuber folks, who have addressed this topic as well. And yes, so this is something I guess that I can feel it relates to me as just as a YouTube reviewer quite directly, because as many of you know, I often do negative reviews of the material I read, and oftentimes I will do rants as well. And I have had plenty of viewers criticize me for that, or question as to why I say the things I say, why I feel the way I feel about things, how I approach delivering my opinions, the way in which I present them, and how I often do engage in a good old rant, and it seems like I have a lot of fun with them sometimes, and I do, I'm not denying that. I think that the reaction of viewers to my more negative reviews is completely understandable. It doesn't mean that sometimes people haven't said things that have hurt my feelings a little, because they seem to take the negative reviews as personal attacks upon the books, but more so, I guess, upon the author, and also, I suppose, in an extended fashion, it can kind of reflect upon those who enjoy that material. And it might seem like I'm being dismissive of other readers because their opinion would be different from mine, and they really enjoyed something where I haven't. And that's never been my intention. I've never meant to isolate anybody in what I've said, and I've certainly never meant to personally attack authors. If it has ever come across that way in my negative reviews, I do sincerely apologize. That's not my place at all to bring my opinions into that avenue, and I don't think it's anybody's place to turn the argument on its head in that way and pinpoint the author themselves. I do hope that I've never come across as doing that, but if I have, I do sincerely apologize. Because you can criticize the work itself till you're blue in the face, but I don't think that should ever be reflecting on your opinion or your regard for the author, because I do think you need to view those two things as being separate entities. And yes, I mean, I can say this safely because I have written things. I've written plays, and I've written songs, and I've written short stories and stuff, and you do feel attached to the work that you create, and it is, I suppose, in some way a part of you, a creative part of you, and a lot of you has gone into that work. So for the creator of the piece, I guess the differentiation between you and your work and what the connection is a very personal thing that you have to decide upon. So it can be that the two overlap a lot, so you take on board criticism of your work as criticism of you, and that all makes sense. But I've certainly never intended to attack an author in anything I've said. And in attacking the work that they read, I've never intended to come across as somebody whose opinion is more worthy or more informed or anything above anybody else's opinion. And just because I do have fun ranting sometimes, I don't mean to assume that I'm all-knowing and all-powerful, and that I consider myself above others simply because I didn't like something. A lot of the time I try to differentiate and designate a distinction between a review and a rant. So I'll try, if I have really strong feelings about something, for example with the Hunger Games, I made a separate rant video that stood apart from the actual review videos of the books, because I felt it was essential to do that so that I'd actually be able to focus on sort of reviewing the damn things, as opposed to just going off and venting about some very strong feelings I had while reading the book that wasn't really pertaining to actually reviewing the content and stuff. I just needed to have an outlet for some emotions. So I thought, well, that certainly has to be on its own, because that's not going to be very informative for anybody. It's just a venting video. So often if I feel that that's going to be the case for a book, I will try and make like 2 separate videos, or just put in the title that it's more a rant than a review, that kind of thing, because I do think there is a distinction and people like to know that. Bookrat Misty pointed out that people can really enjoy watching and reading negative reviews, and I do think that her video is fantastic and you should watch it, because she says everything that that I think, and she says it much more eloquently and well thought out than I could. But she points out that often in a negative review you're expected to back up your reasons for disliking something more than people would assume you are going to if you enjoyed something. Often with really, really positive gushing reviews, sometimes you find that the content of that review isn't very substantial. It will just be someone saying, it was amazing, 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 over and over again. And that can get a bit dull. So even you're much more likely to find, you know, an analysis and detailed descriptions of the reasons why you feel this way in a negative review than you will in a positive one. I don't think that should be the case. I would like to see, you know, backup in positive reviews as well as negative ones. But you just seem to find it more likely that someone is going to break things down and give you explanations as to why they felt that way if they're, you know, sprouting negative opinions. So often you'll have a more informed, sometimes more intelligently thought out review if it's negative than positive. I don't think that should be the case. I think I like to hear the reasons why, no matter what, you know, emotional standpoint you're taking. So I love my positive reviews if they're detailed as well and not just gushy. In the same manner that I do like my negative reviews to be detailed and not just ranty, which is why I think it's good to separate the two things if you can. But yeah, we just because people, I think automatically if you're going to say you don't like something, people want to know the reason why that is, and they want you to back up your claim. So I guess it's just a natural thing that we would automatically be more inclined to give reasons and to think a little bit more deeply about why we weren't responding to that content and what we didn't like about the characters and things. Whereas I think if you are enjoying something, then you kind of sometimes just, you know, along for the ride and you're just having a really pleasant time, so you don't have to think too deeply about why you're enjoying it because you're just in a very happy state and blah blah blah. So I mean that makes sense too, but if and when people can still, you know, give a detailed positive review, then that makes me a bit more happy. But yeah, with regards to people's opinions on negative reviews, I can understand that some people don't like to do them. I think they worry, and probably rightly so, that their opinion might inform others and then it might deter them from picking up a book that they might like, because each individual has their own taste, and even if something is really, really, really popular and hyped and such things, there are always going to be people that won't enjoy it. And I say this knowing that a lot of the time I don't enjoy the books that are really popular and really hyped. And I know, even though I feel very alone at the time, I know there are others out there like me who haven't enjoyed them, or who enjoy the books that people have kind of ignored maybe, or you know, have received a bit of criticism and they might like them. And I can understand that people don't like to give out their own negative reviews for fear that they might, you know, impact upon, you know, the reading selection of others, and I can understand that. But I think at the end of the day you do make your own choices and you do have to just know your own mind. I think it's fantastic to watch and read reviews of people whose opinion you trust and who you're interested in, and you like to hear how they put forth an argument, because that can just give you, you know, it gives you options, and you can, you know, build those up in your head and consider it, but at the end of the day you have to make up your own mind. With regards how authors are responding to vehemently negative reviews, I don't think, like I said, I can understand because it is their creative baby, but I don't think that some of the attacks that have been going on online have really founded. I do think that, you know, there are people out there who do resort to attacking the author in lieu of attacking their work, and that is crossing a line. I don't know if it's necessarily all that mature or professional for the author to then go and kind of take the same approach and attack the reviewer in that manner. I think that's, you know, fueling the fire and making everything worse, and, you know, lessening the opinion of others that they have towards you as well, because they're watching you behave in that fashion. But I mean, you know, people are going to respond how they will when it's something that's impacting them in that way, and it is their work. I think that it's just, we're in a day and age now where it's just difficult because you, in theory, have access to communicate with authors directly, and everyone can kind of see what everybody else is thinking through all these social outlets. So Goodreads essentially is the Facebook of the reading world, so you can kind of see what everyone is thinking about you and your work there. And that's both very exciting and very dangerous, and I just think when you know that something's going to be accessed so publicly, maybe be a little bit more careful if you are ever going to actually bring up the author themselves. I think it's free for all to not attack, but to criticize thoughtfully and intelligently criticize a work if you didn't enjoy it. That's your right as a reader. Just maybe think a little bit before you bring the author into it. I don't know, I just think that's common courtesy really, and, you know, politeness. But I mean, I've never had a problem with negative reviews. Obviously I do plenty myself. I just think that, you know, it's a free world and we're all readers with opinions that do matter, so why not express them? Honesty is the best policy, and I don't think that you should ever feel obligated to conform your opinions to into those of others and into the pattern that a certain book might be, you know, gaining. In terms of popular opinion, I think just respond how you will and how you do, and always be honest. Try and be polite about it, and you know, relatively mature. And if you want to rant away. Just, I think it's good to make a distinction between that and a review. I read, I'll try and find the link to it, a blog, Maggie Stiefvater's blog, and she was talking about what's been going on, and she mentioned that she feels that none of us, and it's gonna sound harsh the way I say it, but I don't think she intended it as a harsh thing. She said that none of us really are reviewers, because a review at the end of the day has to remain indifferent and impersonal, and its job is to recommend a book or not recommend a book, whereas what we're doing essentially is just expressing our own opinions and putting them out there in the public. I don't see how that makes it any less of a review. I don't know, that's a question for another time I suppose, but I'll try and link the blog entry in question. I just found it interesting, and then I thought, well, I don't really feel like a reviewer really, but in Maggie Stiefvater's opinion I'm not one. So I don't know, that's yeah, something a little bit of a tangent there, but I'll try and find the link and put it in the doobly-doo. And just, yeah, feel free to put your own video response up and whatnot, and I think this is only meant to be for the month of February, so I'm just making it in there. Yay, it's a leap year. So that's all for now. Thank you to Book Rat Misty for starting this discussion topic. It's very interesting and relevant one for all of us. And that's all for now. Bye everyone! Hi, I just wanted to add something to my negative reviews discussion. I've also, something that has come up in comments on my negative videos, people have said things along the line of, you have no right to be criticising the work of this published author who clearly has much more talent than you. What would you know about writing? You obviously don't have the skill to craft a novel, let alone a really good one, like insert title here. Because you're not doing it, and that author is, so you're not, where are you in your place to be looking down upon them and, you know, condoning their work and whatnot. And again, I can understand where viewers are coming from when they say these kind of things in the comments. I just wanted to add that certainly I've never approached, I've never knowingly approached reading these works as someone who writes, because I don't consider myself a writer. I just write, you know, in my spare time if the need takes me. It's certainly not something that I'm chasing as a career option. It's not something I'm working towards. So I read these books as a reader and I respond as a reader, and that's all. I like to think that I have some grasp on how I like things to be constructed in terms of the writing, just because, you know, I know what I like, and I did study writing at university, but, you know, that's just kind of, I guess, more a critical, interpretive, you know, side of me, as opposed to someone who is, you know, actively practicing writing as a career, as a hobby, as anything. I don't try to approach my negative expression from the angle of writing it in terms of how I would do it, because I have no idea how I would do it, and I don't mean to judge it in that way, but people have, I think, taken it in that light in the past, and I just wanted to try and clear that up, because I don't consider myself a writer, and I don't mean to be criticizing these authors who clearly, you know, are considered to have skill and talent, because yes, they are published. I think that, you know, again, it's just everybody's individual opinion as to what is talent, where they consider talent to be shown, whether or not all published authors mean that all authors who are published are actually talented, or are they just fortunate, have they just had a good break? I don't know, whatever, but I just thought I'd try and clear that up a little bit. I'm not a writer, and when I am, I don't consider myself a good writer in the least, and I do respect that all these authors have had their works published, their works are out there, they're getting read by people and enjoyed by people, so respect to them for that. Yeah, and good on them. So just thought I'd add that in there. And one last thing for the negative reviews discussion, I'm so sorry, but I was rewatching Misty's video, and her fantastic discussion points were reminding me of things, and I just wanted to say that also the obligation that I won't deny I still feel when I have been sent review copies of novels. So I'm getting free books and I'm reading them and not enjoying some of them, and it was more a feeling that was prevalent when I first started getting review copies, but it's still around now. I just feel like maybe there's this inkling of obligation inside of me to say nice things about this book because it was sent to me for free from the publisher, and, you know, I should be really grateful for that and whatnot. And I am very grateful, but at the end of the day, I know that I still have to be honest and, you know, stay true to what my genuine reaction was to the book that I read. So yeah, and that's, as someone who's getting the review copies, it is still something I struggle with because I feel guilty, but I know that ultimately what matters more to viewers and readers, if you have your blog and whatnot and you're writing your reviews, what matters more is honesty and, you know, just being truthful and intelligent and insightful about how you responded to this work, and that's what should always matter. So long as you can do that and never make it a personal attack on anybody, then I think, you know, you're good to go, and you should never feel guilty or bad for the way in which you go about doing your reviews, both positive and negative. So just keep being honest, folks, because really that's what matters.